Hi everybody, I'm Phil Fatik and welcome back to the Millcreek Government Channel. Today we're going to be talking about your patriotic duty, the privilege that we all have, but too many of us perhaps do not employ and use. I'm talking about going to the voting booth and casting your ballot. And to address that issue today, let me introduce you to Doug Smith. Doug, as you well may know, is the clerk of the elections for Erie County since the year 2003.
Hi, Phil.
Good to see you, Doug.
It's great to be here today.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
This is the gentleman that knows everything about what we're going to talk about today in voting. And you'll notice behind me is a voting machine, which, if you vote, you probably have seen this in your voting place. And how many voting places do we have? How many different places do we go to?
We have 149 currently. We're trying to manage that number down a little bit, combine where we can, and maybe expand in some places like Millcreek, where some of the precincts are very large.
Yeah, and some are shrinking, so you make 2 out of 1. And by the way, wherever you vote, you may see 3, 4, or 5 of these, because depending on the number of people. I'm going to show you how that works in just a moment. Now, I know it's not just you that's in charge. There's a lot of people that support you, and you're allowed to name them. They are.
All right. Well, truly, I represent the Election Board of Erie County, which is actually Erie County Council stands as our county's election board. If members of the council are running for election, then it's those who are not. In this case, it's Edward DiMatteo, our chairman, Jay Brenneman, and Andre Horton. That's our current board. Yeah. And of course, part of the election department for Erie County is not only what happens in my office, but the voter registration office. That's the office that we all hear about, and Kimberly DeLand is our election supervisor. She's our on-the-ground point person that manages the office, which handles the registrations, the changes, works with the candidates, and
a lot of jobs.
Yes, sir.
A lot of jobs. And you're located in where?
The Erie County Courthouse, 140 West 6th Street, room 112.
Yeah, first floor, very, very easy to find. We're taping this kind of close to Election Day, so we want to concentrate on the fact that on November 3rd comes the opportunity for you to express your choice. And as Doug will tell you, that so often, not a big percentage of people are doing that. That's up for interpretation, of course. But on the ballot this time are some significant races that will affect you and me, because he'll tell you why. So on the ballot are some people and some places and some events. You want to tell them about that, please?
We've got some extremely important races on the ballot this time. We, of course, have borough and township officials, your supervisors, council people. We have state judges, Commonwealth, Supreme. And those are, of course, people that make a vast number of decisions for us. Right. We also have school boards. Judge Carney was telling me one day that on the ballot are the people that can tax you and put you in jail.
That's right.
We all know that our taxes, I mean, it's part of a complicated formula. It helps set your property values. I mean, these are very important matters for all of us, not to mention a school district is that organization that educates our children or, you know, other children in our community.
Sure.
And that I can't think of too many more important things that we would want to go to the polls for, is to make sure that those people on those boards are the best possible representatives.
So don't forget, November 3rd, but before you can go to vote, you have to be able to register to vote if you have not registered yet. So before you can use that machine behind, you have to go and fill out one of these. Well, how do you do that, okay? Here comes Phil in to see you. I have to register to vote. What do I do, Mr. Smith?
Well, that's really the easy way. If you come and see us in the office, we can assist you, and it becomes a very simple process. Now, there's an exciting development that by the time this show airs will be live and in motion. That is online registration in the state of Pennsylvania. It's brand new, coming out this year. Governor Wolf and his team in the Department of State have put this together, and I think it's a marvelous change for our citizens, especially so many of us use our computers daily, and certainly our younger population is going to use them, and I think online registration offers a chance for increased participation.
But you still have to register.
That's
whether
correct.
you do it the old-fashioned way, like
Yes.
this, or the online. So you register, and then they will send you back something or say, yes, you're registered to vote. And by the way, you will vote at a certain location. Is that, you can't just decide on your own where you want to go vote.
That's right. Upcoming for this election, there is a deadline for registration. That is October the 5th. That's the last day that you can register. Our office is open a little bit later. We certainly hope you come down and take advantage of that, but you don't have to wait till the 5th.
Yeah.
Certainly come down and see us before then. You will get a follow-up card in the mail, which will tell you where to vote, what your polling place is, and you can put that in your pocket. And you may want to remember, too, that for that, if you're a new registrant or if you're changing locations, you're going to be asked for ID. Now, that's the only time that you are asked for ID in the voting process. It doesn't have anything to do with the sort of political games that went on with this whole situation. It's strictly to make sure that you're who you say you are.
Yeah. Beside that, I think I want to add that you can also get these forms for this at the Erie County government website too. You can fill them out and do it that way. So there's multiple ways you can register to vote.
Yes.
What we're both saying is there's really no excuse for you not voting. No. It's so easy and it's painless. Now there are some people kind of stay here in a linear fashion. There are some people that can't really maybe get to vote on that particular day. They absolutely, for reasons, they're veterans, they're out of town, they're on vacation, and then they have an absentee ballot application, which I'm holding in my hand right here. Tell me about that, absentee ballot.
Well, the absentee ballot is a way for you to vote on a paper ballot if you're not going to be available on election day because of business, out of town. Oftentimes there are health reasons associated. We have people who are, well, they generally are of an advanced age, but they have medical conditions which limit their ability to get around, and they become permanent absentee members. That's an option for them. You still have to apply for a ballot. It is a simple two-step process. You can download the form from online, fill it out, mail it in, or you can get it at a state office, liquor store, library. Then once you send that in, we'll send you back a ballot to whatever address. And of course, Phil, this is the time of year too. Well, many parents, they might have kids going off to school. They're you know, they want their kids to vote, and so you know, the thing is, you don't want to let that go too long. You want to have the address at the dorm or wherever that goes on the absentee form.
Sure.
And the ballot will go to your student out of town, and they'll be able to exercise their franchise.
Okay. Again, you can find a lot of this information that Doug's talking about at the county website. It's very easy. Erie County Gov, that's one word, eriecountygov.org. And if that doesn't work, you can give Doug a phone call at 451?
451-6303 or 451-6276 will put you in the voter registration office for Kim DeLand, and she's certainly willing to help anyone.
Okay, so we got you registered to vote. You're old enough to vote in the first place. And by the way, I want to tell you that my uncle got one of these absentee ballots. Health reasons prevented him to go into the polling place, and he just kept voting until he was 97 3/4. Never did not miss voting. Did not miss voting. World War II vet, did not miss voting. All of that's being taken care of. Come the day of voting now, November 3rd. Polls open at and close at.
They open at 7 a.m. and close at 8 p.m.
Okay, most people are familiar with that, pretty familiar. You walk in, some places, churches, some places are
fire stations,
schools, fire stations.
Schools.
Yeah, and by the way, it's on design that these are at schools, and schools are off on that day. There's a reason for that. I think you want to tell them why schools should be off that day.
Well, actually, it's been kind of a nice cooperative effort. The City of Erie School are closed that day. I think they might have conferences or something. Not every district is closed, and at times that makes for a little bit of difficulty when all the buses are in the parking lot. But most of them are closed, and we hope that someday maybe the state will help us establish a day off so that all our schools can be closed on Election Day. Students can go with their parents, or if they're old enough, which probably doesn't happen too often in high school anyway, but they can go vote. And you know, part of the issue is buildings. We want to be able to accommodate
a building next, pretty close to where your neighborhood.
Neighborhood buildings. They have to accommodate people with certain disabilities, and there are only so many buildings in any area.
And let me add that when the city decided to close Glenwood School, that left Doug in a real bind, because where do those people go to vote? Where there's lots of parking, disabled available, handicap parking, you know, don't have to navigate steps. So what happened is you went into Central Tech, so you got a Central Tech West, a Central Tech East, and a Central Tech South for voting.
And we've even made an adjustment since then.
Yeah, one big building to cover all of that area, because what happened is the school closed and there was no place to go vote. And the adjustment is?
Well, the east door that did house voting was changed over to the Methodist Church at Peach and Myrtle. It's a beautiful
it is.
building, and we might even move some other districts there.
And people get a postcard notifying them that,
yes,
right? You get a card in the mail that says your voting district has moved, so be aware of that. Okay, so voting day has arrived. I go vote, and where I vote, I have wonderful women who are certainly not diet conscious in my book. They whip out all the good baked stuff they've done, and then you get to buy it and eat it right then and there, and it's all just delicious and wonderful. And it all depends where you go, and it becomes the kind of a social event too. People see each other, they run into each other, and the process is as smooth as it can be, because the people you have in your office train the workers to get the people to move through the line and to vote. But Phil doesn't know how to vote. I don't know how to handle that. Can you help me? Are you allowed to do that?
Yes, absolutely. Anybody that needs assistance, and we have two types of assistance, the kind in which somebody stands outside the curtain, so to speak, can't see what you're doing, they can sort of guide you, or if you want them to come back there with you, they would just fill out a form and come back there with you. Some people even they might bring, let's say if it's an elderly person, they may bring their son with them or their daughter. And that person can assist you in voting. We certainly don't want anyone to stay away. If you need help, help is there. If you're behind the voting machine and you need help, we just suggest you raise your hand and someone will come over and help you.
And speaking of people helping, there are a lot of people employed on that night, or those two nights, the preliminary and municipal, who are there working to make sure that this all kind of comes together. A round figure number, how many people?
Well, I'll tell you, we have what amounts to a small army, I guess.
You're right.
Over 900 people take positions at 149 polling districts, and most of these are your neighbors. That's the election code was designed so that you had a judge of elections, inspector of elections elected in your particular area. We always work very hard to try to put local people in each district. And it's important really for you to realize just how much work and what a long day they put in. People arrive at quite often at 6:30 in the morning, quarter after 6 if you're a judge, and you might not leave until 9 o'clock.
Right.
So you get maybe a small, very small break, and you get a whole whopping $130 for the day if you're a judge.
You get paid, exactly. You get paid for this. So yes. Now the machine behind me then is recording the votes.
Yes.
And then at the end of the voting night, the judge of elections will go and say, okay, now I need to kind of tally the votes. And you all might remember the machines we have with the curtains, and you push the lever down and you push the curtain back and it registered. And at the end of the night, I remember taking part of this, there was a paper behind there, and you'd sit there and the person would count up the votes and go, Smith, I got a total of 47 votes for Smith. And somebody over here would go, no, I added it up, I got 63 votes. Okay, let's add it up again. You know, and that would take a long time. This goes very rapidly. All these people, and again, how many districts we have?
149.
Have to bring in their results into the courthouse, and they have to be tallied so that you can look online to see how your candidate is doing. And what happens? Got a couple of things in front of me here that are key. Let's start with the small one. 256 megs. It's a SAN disk. Don't know if you can see that too well.
Yeah,
what is this?
It's a flash card. It's what you might normally find in a camera. It's memory media. It records everything that happens on a voting machine on election day. It contains all the information. It's removable. Now, there are about 6 other storage places in every voting machine that keeps all our information safe. So that
I can hear people now saying, oh, yeah, they can be tampered with. Come on, I'm voting for Fatika, but I'm getting Smith. Get rid of that myth.
Well, I'll tell you. It's what happens is a voting machine, if you look at the screen back there, it's really like the screen of a microwave. It responds to touch. So that sometimes that spot on the screen, the calibration is off. So that when I touch here, something down here lights up. Well, with a short adjustment, we can fix that. It's strictly a small technical fix. We have custody of these machines 24/7.
Right.
There is no online access. Nobody can tamper with our programming. It's in a secure location. Mrs. DeLand has many protocols that she goes through which secures our ballot.
I'm just going to say, before they're sent out, they're checked and rechecked.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Now, this is the big one here. This is the big card. This is called a PIB, P-E-B, which stands for?
Personal electronic ballot.
Okay, so what do you do with this?
Now, this is also function as an activator. When this is inserted into the voting machine, it activates the ballot.
Okay.
But it also stores on a temporary basis our election night results. That is the unofficial count. So at the end of the night, our judges of election, if let's say they have 5 voting machines, they will take that PEB and they will copy those results from all 5 machines onto that PEB and bring that into us. We take those results, and from all 149 districts, those individual results become our unofficial total.
So in the courtroom, this is all ciphered through. There's a process where people come in, they drop this off, they sign this off, they drop this off, they sign this off, they get paid, they go home. And so if you are watching at home and you can call up the website, you will see the tallies being made as the tallies are being brought in. It's a very quick process. It's a very, very smooth process. And again, a bunch of people associated with doing this. This is the nights where you get up at 2 in the morning and don't go to bed.
I don't sleep very well on those nights.
I was going to say you don't sleep very well on those particular nights. So it is brought in, checked, and rechecked, and that night, though, is not the actual official count.
That's correct.
What happens?
That's
Why
correct.
isn't it the official count, and when is the official count?
The official count takes place the Friday after election night, 3 days later. We then will take the PEBs, as Phil showed you, and we will compare the totals that we got on election night with the totals that are on those smaller flashcards. Any differences resulting usually tend to be from a voting machine didn't get its results copied, or perhaps something occurred and for some reason a flashcard wasn't included in the total. But we have protocols and we have procedures which are designed to catch those kinds of problems.
And believe me, people do come in and check and make sure that everything is followed to the letter. All right, so Fatika and Smith are running. Smith wins by 5 votes. And I go, 5 votes, that's pretty close to count. Probably is going to trigger a recount, or
Yes.
do I have to ask that it be a recount? Is there a number where it triggers automatically?
Yes, I believe the number is 1%, but that's really only for the state. On
Okay.
a local level, you would have to request it.
Okay, and is there a dollar fee associated with that? Do you have to pay?
Actually, if you go through the Board of Elections, you can request it and receive it at no cost.
Okay.
There was a time when you alluded to the large mechanical
Sure.
machines. It was a complex process
Right.
to open those up and remove the papers in the back and go through the recount. But now that this is all computerized, why, it's a relatively simple process, and You know, we don't really run into recounts that change results.
Right.
You know, we will check the absentee ballots again. Those get recounted. And, you know, it's a possibility there, but you don't see too many errors from the computer count.
I was going to ask you about that. The absentee ballot, when do you count that? When is this put into the mix?
The absentee ballots, of course, they have to be into the courthouse the Friday before the election in our office. And that is, I believe, the 30th of October this year.
Yeah. But they're counted.
They're counted that night. So they come into our office, and actually what we do is we send absentee ballots out to the polls on Election Day.
Okay.
So those will go out, and you're the judge of elections, and you see you've got 7 or 8 of those. And that's in case, say, Doug Smith filled out an absentee ballot, but then something changed, and I decided I'd show up. Well, we can't very well have 2 votes for Doug Smith, one on the machine and one on paper, so the judge will cancel my paper ballot and allow me to vote on the machine.
Okay. You know, as we're talking here, you might think that this is a process like this machine behind us here, that everybody does it this way, that all counties do it this way, that all states do it this way, and that is not the case. That is not the case at all. Is there a movement, first of all, to standardize all 50 states, or at least 67 counties, and how do other counties do it? How do other states do it? You might remember the very famous voting in Florida with the Chad, and the punching, and did it come through, and was it, and the guy holding it up like this. Who does it differently?
Well, actually, there are some different voting methods right here in Pennsylvania. We have touchscreen here. In some other counties, a number of other counties, you've got scanning. So it's sort of like those standardized tests. You fill in the little dot, and then it's read by a scanner. And there are a couple different iterations of those type of scanned ballots. It's essentially a paper ballot. I would say there will be a movement in the next 5 to 10 years to standardize voting in Pennsylvania and probably some other places as well. Back in 2000, the Help America Vote Act is what funded Pennsylvania's change into electronic voting. And now, you know, our voting machines, like many others, are starting to get old, and we all know from our own experiences with computers, the computer we got back in 1999, while a solid machine, just can't handle the software that's produced today. And it's a similar situation with voting machines. As software gets more advanced and faster, you know, you have to make changes. It becomes, you know, it becomes an unsupportable item after a while.
That's a polite way of saying it ain't a cheap date. It's not a cheap date to conduct an election.
$5 million probably.
Yep.
You'd be looking at.
Say that again.
$5 million.
Yeah,
yes.
It's a big number to conduct an election. I remember places, I want to think of Warren County, where people would vote on a paper ballot, fold it, stick it in a box with the slot. The person would open the box, end of the night, count the ballots. Thank you, you're the president, good luck, have a good life. I don't think that happens too much anymore, but it may, and it's changed a lot, I think is what you're saying. Yeah.
I think it's gone to the scans everywhere, Phil, where formerly it was a hand-tallied ballot. The Help America Vote Act prompted counties to make that change. And for a small county, that's fine. You know, everybody, I think the nice thing about the government's help thus far has been they have allowed counties to pursue their own options. And I think that's important. What's right for, you know, 180,000 voters in Erie County may not be the best solution for 40,000 voters in I don't want to name the wrong county and have it be an insult.
Sure,
but,
very small counties.
Potter, you know, God's country.
Oh my gosh.
Somewhere
Not
small,
even,
but
I don't think there's 20,000 people live in the whole county.
It's certainly, you want to be able to make those choices, and hopefully going into the future, whenever an update occurs, the state of Pennsylvania will work with all counties and allow us to have a little bit of home rule on that.
Again, this is Doug Smith. Doug is the clerk of elections for Erie County. He's also the county council clerk, and that term is really not really sufficient for what he does. Clerk is it's a huge job to keep track of this. It's a day in, day out job with Kim and her staff, and on election night it is just pretty pretty crazy. But it all comes out well in the end. It all comes out smoothly, and people watch and pay attention. Again, voting this year, November 3rd, but you have to be registered by
October the 5th.
Yes, and if you're not registered by October the 5th, shame on you.
Please don't wait.
Yeah, don't wait. Get down and get down to the courthouse. Go online, eriecountygov.org, and they'll give you instructions. Call Doug, and he'll tell you how to do it. And we want to see you voting. We want to see you there in line. Why? Because the races that are this year are extremely important. Judges, school board, people who will determine whether, as you said, can raise your taxes or put you in jail.
Millcreek Study Commission. That'll be a huge,
yes,
obviously a huge issue for
your
viewers this year.
The Millcreek Study, yeah.
And I would like to just give a quick shout out to our judges of election. We have 149 of them. They work so very hard for us, and it's a very long day, and they are so dedicated, and it's funny. Every time they come in to see us on election night, they're waiting in line to get their stuff processed, and as I go around, as tired as they are, they still will give me their suggestions. How can we do things better? I really think that says something about them and about people in this community. They really care about this, and it's a very heartwarming thing.
Proud to vote. Proud to get that little sticker that in some places says, I voted today. Again, this is Doug Smith, and you may run into him possibly, or you may run into me out on the trail when you vote. But the most important thing is, sadly, I don't want to end on a sad note, but sadly, some of the younger people are just saying, I don't know if I need to vote that. You know, they don't represent me. It's not me. You know, how do you get those people engaged? You got 30 seconds.
You know, I really think that it's not just registering to vote, but if you're a younger person, we need you to run for office. You know, there are those who say the reason people don't vote is they want more of a choice. You're the way that they can have more of a choice. Run for office. You know, if you don't get involved, it's like letting somebody else decide what you're going to have for lunch and dinner. And, you know, I don't know about you, but I don't like people that's making my decisions for me. I want to play a part in it. Even if it doesn't go my way, the fact that I took the time to vote and make a choice, that matters.
Absolutely. Well said. Let's thank Doug Smith for being here. I'm Phil Fatica, and come November 3rd, I will see you at the polls voting. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, take care.
You're watching the Millcreek Government Channel, powered by WQLN Public Media.